Perfect. So then we should be live now.
Perfect. All right, good.
So we're here with Rob Berridge from Heat Engineer Software. How are you doing, Rob?
Very well, thank you. Yeah, very well in these dark times at the moment.
How you keeping? It looks pretty. You got a pretty good setup there.
Yeah, it's a kind of it's a little man cave really, I guess, down here. It's just like a little soundproofed room that I've kind of built in the back of my garden in my garage. So it's kind of like a room within a room. So it's fully soundproofed and great. And I spend absolutely days and days and days in here, which is I don't know, might send you a bit bonkers, get a bit of cabin fever, I guess. But no, it's all right.
So you're here to give us a guitar tutorial on how to play Stairway to Heaven?
Oh yeah, great. Yeah, that's the one thing you'd never ever play, isn't it?
No, so you're here to give us a quick introduction into heat loss and sizing of heating systems. Can you tell us about Heat Engineer Software and your background?
Yeah, well, I've been in the game now for as a commercial and domestic gas engineer for coming up 37 years now. Set up my company in '84. I worked in commercial plant rooms almost from day one. I was very, very lucky to have a couple of guys that taught me who were brilliant, and they kind of got me onto, proper kind of hydronic understanding and stuff like that at a very, very early age. So I was thrown in the deep end, but really quite enjoyed it. We did quite a lot of our work in Ministry of Defence plant rooms and that sort of thing. So, you really kind of had to pick up quickly on what was going on, which was great. I only did that for about, 6-7 years, something like that. And then I kind of got more into the domestic side, worked with the domestic side for a long time, but always kind of was involved in sort of sizing plant and doing that kind of thing, which was great. And all my life, my whole career, I was looking for, proper calculation software and proper tools to actually do a job. I mean, wonderful to subscribe to, CIBSE and people like that, and get all of the books, which cost an absolute fortune, and trying to learn and more importantly, deciphering it. Most of it is definitely not bedtime reading. And it's very, very difficult for people and your standard engineer to understand, a lot of this technical jargon that was going on. It's literally like reading a completely different language. So when I came across Heat Engineer, I mean, it was literally on its knees. It was not doing anything at all. There was, it had a few subscribers, and it had a few bugs in the system and all sorts of things like that. That was, when was that? That was April 2017, I think, something along those lines. I saw this software and I thought, oh my God, this is fantastic. And so I subscribed to it, got to know the developer and director of it, Rich Cartwright, who is now my partner, and loved it so much. I just said to him, because at one point he was saying that he was thinking about giving it up. And I said, you can't. I said, the industry really needs this. I said, and if you're going to give it up, I'll have it. And I said, well, but why don't we work on it together? Let's share the load and let's do it together. And I guess the rest is history now. We're now getting new subscribers on a daily basis, which is superb. But we're trying to really change it with sort of my input into it now. We're trying to sort of bring it in into a situation where we make it as cheap as we can, so we get it into the back pockets of every single engineer. So, and we're doing it as engineers. So we're doing it so engineers can understand it and understand the tools that are really required to get specification right. Because I think, as we all know, that is the biggest issue that we have in the industry now, where things are just being specified so wrong. It's all guesswork and rule of thumb, which just can't do if we're going to be accountable to our emissions by 2025 and the ultimate goal of 2050.
Yeah, I mean, with the eyes of kind of everything on the heating industry, when it comes to decarbonisation and when it comes to all of these targets, and government has always paid very close attention to heating. How important is this correct calculation, sizing and heat loss for you, for domestic engineers?
Well, it is impossible for you to do correct commissioning if you don't do a heat loss calculation. It's as simple as that. And we've all learned, people that have been in the industry as long as I have, we all learned from years ago that yes, you take 15 millimeter size pipe work to each radiator, or you'd, it'd be 22 millimeters. So like a standard 3-bedroom house, everybody would say, well, it's a bundle of 22 millimeters and it's 2 or 3 bundles of 15 millimeters, and that would be your pipe work with all your fittings right the way through. when what we actually really know now is that your average household, it only has a heat requirement of between 6 and 8 kilowatt. You probably don't need a bundle of 22mm in the system at all. You could do every bit of that system in 15mm pipe. So those got to get those velocities right. And we've known, and this is kind of really being exposed in the industry over the last few years, is that oversizing of pipe work has actually caused the biggest shake-up, if you like, in the industry of power flushing and the huge chemical industry which is around now. As much as they've all got their own pros and cons, etc. But the biggest issue with power flushing is that the velocities, in other words, the speed that the water travels through pipework, is so slow, because we are putting boilers on that have a completely different flow rate to older boilers and older systems. Is that none of the products of corrosion, etc., get back to any filters. The velocities are so slow, so all sludge, etc., stays inside radiators and inside pipework, which causes the problems. And no one's done these calculations before. So this is what we're trying to highlight: is to get systems running efficiently, maintain your flow and return temperatures at the points where boilers, condensing boilers in particular, do condense. And there are the biggest issues. But I mean, this is going to take a long time to educate the industry widely, and get the knowledge base up, I guess.
So very difficult question. But how many installations, or what percentage do you think of engineers are kind of using this techniques before they install a system?
What, you mean using Heat Engineer or using just the techniques of design?
Both, yeah.
Both. I think many engineers are using rule of thumb design, and I think more and more people are coming on board. I mean, there's plenty of companies out there like Reflex and IMI Hydronics and Danfoss and various other companies that are building really helpful apps, really good tools to help engineers in sizing, etc. I think that is happening more and more. I still think that a lot of these companies are building some of these apps almost with sort of degree engineers in mind, when in fact what we actually have at the moment is a necessity for, layman's terms apps. We need kind of simple speak apps that basically say, there's the size of your room, that's the type of wall you have, etc. This is what you need, that's your heat loss, that's the flow rates, that's the size of radiator, that kind of thing that can do. But yeah, for sure, they are from my experiences, certainly over the last sort of 2.5 to 3 years of being involved more with social media, is that the appetite for learning is getting huge. And certainly with training courses that I do with IMI Hydronics, with Kim Betty from Heating Academy and places like that, it's really big. The appetite is huge, and that can only be a brilliant thing.
No, it sounds really interesting. So I will turn my microphone and my camera off, and I'll let you crack on with your presentation. That's all right.
Sure. Okay.
And then we'll catch up afterwards.
Okay. I'll need to share my screen. Yeah. So as Joe and I were just highlighting there, that we have a bit of an issue in the heating industry in the UK of people not understanding the requirements and the necessity to actually carry out a heat loss calculation. Well, not just a heat loss calculation, a hydronic calculation of what is required for the projects that they're doing. Now, the very first port of call with anything is to quantify the heat that you need within a system. And if you don't do that, then pretty much every single thing is guesswork. We are now becoming more and more accountable. I think government are beginning to kind of wake up to the idea that we need to be accountable within this. And so not just from our platform, I've been pushing, and my partners have been pushing for a long time to get accountability into the industry. And I think the biggest and the most important thing is to get a heat loss calculation first of all. Now, we are just stating and asking government as much as we possibly can just to promote the process of calculation. I mean, there's many companies out there that do heat loss calculation software, and I recommend everybody to find the one that they like and have a go. But so we're kind of at this point now. What I would like to try and present to you is the reasoning behind it. So our software is cloud-based and mobile app-based. You would basically do a room-by-room calculation with your laser measure and your app. So you would go with your tablet or your phone to any site, or indeed have drawings, etc., in your office at home. You'd enter in all the measurement details on the app, and then send that survey. There's a couple of things that we try and push of simplifications. I won't read this out. Everyone can read that on their own on this screen. But how do we size a boiler or a heat pump at the moment? Well, we measure each room of the property, as we're showing, with a laser measure, or say from drawings. We observe all the building materials that we have in the roofs, walls, floors, and windows, etc., and try and record them and work out exactly what it is that is needed. There's not many software companies out there at the moment that can actually do bespoke calculations. So with our software, you can actually build any material that you like, building material wise. So if essentially what you could do, if you had a 20-meter thick wall with 40 different building materials into it, our calculator will actually calculate that out for you and give you an end result in U value. So it can actually do anything. I mean, it literally will, if you want to, calculate out a shed in the middle of Siberia, if you like, and give you the correct heat loss for that. We need to carry out this calculation to obviously find the heat loss for each room and property, and it's getting more and more important to do so as we start zoning off different areas, etc. And we need to obviously calculate the flow rates out for those to make sure that your boilers and your heat source, whatever it is sitting in its sweet spot. I mean, we don't care what the heat source is. We're moving more and more towards renewable technologies now, and I think this is more important, certainly with heat pumps. If you get these pipework sizing and the heat loss sizing wrong with heat pumps, you are moving into very, very dangerous territory. We've all heard horrendous stories of companies going out, fitting heat pumps, in other words, removing gas boilers, etc., but putting in heat pumps using existing circuitry on that, and actually just causing their clients untold pain because their utility bills go through the roof because the heat pumps can't run into their sweet spot. So it's more and more important now to actually get those calculations correct, and especially your downstream pipe sizing to make sure that it runs at the correct delta T or temperature difference. So the historical processes that we have is that engineers have used pen, paper and calculator right the way through, which has obviously been laborious, takes up time, so the spreadsheets are complicated and it's very, very time consuming. I can now, with our software, I mean, obviously any new tool takes some time to get to use and get to know. Our software, I can do a typical sort of detached 4-bedroom house in about an hour. So I can measure it all up in about an hour with a laser measure walking around. I then would send that survey to our software, and I can complete that in the cloud version of our software in about 10 to 15 minutes, something like that. So investing that time of under 2 hours is probably not that much when it comes down to the point of getting something completely accurate. And it's a one-man system, so you can do everything yourself, which is good. Yeah, this is the thing. We don't ever get a lot of the help from a lot of people. We've actually created a big help section within our system, and we're obviously produced an awful lot of tutorial videos. We are also now working on much better ways to make human error less likely with our system. I mean, obviously, whenever you put in measurements, none of us can teach somebody to use a tape measure and enter in the data properly online. That's something that is a hand-to-hand thing. The other thing that engineers will have to know is have some understanding of building techniques in the UK, but again, we tried to help that with certain building regulations, etc. So I think there's about 4 or 5 different air change rates now within building regulations over the time. You've got pre-2000, 2006, etc., etc. So there's quite a lot. But we go into big detail on that on training days to help engineers understand the different building processes and what different wall constructions and roof constructions, etc., are made up of. Something very, very important. Something else that we do within this is that we have a system on our system which helps dyslexic engineers. So one, you can change the font, you can change the color, you can put it into dyslexic mode as well, which with the feedback we've had so far on that has been absolutely fantastic. So that's another good thing that we've got. As I touched on earlier on, you would do a room by room survey of the project that you're trying to calculate, entering all the details. It's very intuitive. It's just page by page, and as long as you fill in all the bits page by page, then really there shouldn't be any issue. And once that is all complete and your measurements are complete, in fact, we've just had a new update now. So if people haven't updated their apps at the moment, you need to go to your App Store or Google Play and just download the latest version of our app, which is version 1.9. It's for iOS 13, etc., etc. So but we've made it a lot easier. We've taken out quite a lot and just trying to make the app now just purely a measurement tool. So when you go to projects, it speeds up that. We've got quite a few clients that have up to 30 surveyors, or even some up to 50 surveyors, and all they do all day long is go and do 2 or 3 or 4 site surveys of measurements. And of course, they want to try and get that and speed that process up. So once those are sent through to the main account holder, they can then go through entering all the postcodes, all the various relevant degree day data, etc., to get a really good, accurate calculation. That would be the main dashboard page. So users, once they've sent the survey, they would come in, log in to their account, and start moving forward on the processes. The good thing, as we say, you can either be a single surveyor, you can have your colleagues, you can get subcontractors, you can get all sorts of things. We can cater for all, and the software literally comes for as little for an independent company with just one surveyor, just over 100 quid a year plus the VAT. And that's for unlimited access, so about £10 a month. So we've made it as cheap as we possibly can for everybody to have a go. You can also buy a one-off survey for £10 if you wanted to, which to try it out. So these are some of the features that you get. You get different room by room features. You can see boxes that are highlighted there in orange. That means that there is information that's actually required. Or in yellow, it means that needs a definition of what type of unit it is as per the CIBSE guide. So essentially all we've done is taken the CIBSE domestic heating guide, and we have just put it in layman's speak, if you like, and entered it into a software program like this, so you can do these calculations easy as. Again, we are the only software company at the moment that do vaulted rooms, different room types, and we put in the shapes of these rooms so everybody can understand exactly which parts that they need to do. As you enter in the data, all of those dimensions you can see up here. If I move my cursor, you dim one there, once that's done, they will turn green. And then it proves that you've actually put in all the relevant measurements that you need for those kind of vaulted areas. People can have things like orangeries or things like that extended onto kitchens or kitchen extensions or those kind of things can be added on, and this gives you that accurate measurement of what needs to be done. Again, you can get all the external walls, different types. It highlights all of the different U values here, but again, these are in yellow, so as you can see, it says please define. So anything until it all goes white, nothing is finished on that page, and it won't let you move forward to the next stage. There are only 9 stages. Again with internal walls, etc., windows, and it'll give you all the U values. Again, all of these are customized. You can create any U value that you want. If an architect has a U value that they state in their construction notes, you can copy that, or if not, you can build any material you want, as we stated earlier. It then gives you a review in watts for the whole property. Great for people designing underfloor heating circuits here, because underfloor heating companies can help there. We're seeing that some of these, like that living room, for argument's sake, it just needs 42 watts per square meter, as you can see. And again, it gives you the total watts of what that room requires, which is 567 watts, yeah, or half a kilowatt. It also gives you all of your coefficient values for heat pumps, etc., and it starts to give you a star rating of what is going on with your average seasonal performance figures at the bottom here. Very, very important if you're MCS certified, or if you are doing heat pumps as a major installation process for underfloor heating. Again, with underfloor heating, depending on the size of your U value, what the U value and end heat loss is for that particular project, you've got your different floor types of carpet, but it actually then gives you your pipe spacings, which is very, very, very important, because we know that many actual companies will go out and they'll put in like 100 millimeter pipe centers for pretty much every single project. Now, you've only got to take this project in one example, but I mean, you look at the top 6-7 rooms there, at 300 millimeter pipe centers, you've actually reduced your material cost by 2/3, if that is the case, and it will still run at 45-degree flow temperature. Again, you can play with these flow temperatures to actually change that. So if we drop that to 35 degrees, for argument's sake, we know that that pipe spacing will change probably down to 150 or 200 millimeter pipe centers. But you have to make that engineering judgment, whether that is something you want to do in an initial material cost, or whether you want to make your systems run more efficiently over time. Again, all your completed reports. This is in a dyslexic mode, as you can see, so the font is slightly different. It makes it easier for people to read. They can also change all of the background colours, etc., with this, but this is what you would get in your completed reports. You can then download those reports on PDF and send those to your clients, which we guarantee now. I mean, pretty much every single client that we've got, once they send one of these reports to their clients, they win the work just basically on the report, because no one else seems to be doing anything along those lines. And it certainly wins people bigger and better jobs, and they're more confident of taking on those jobs because of the calculation process. So thanks for listening, guys. I hope everyone enjoyed that and got something from it. Over to you, Joe.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks so much, Rob. So if heating engineers want more information about this, how do they go about getting it?
Well, they can see on the screen there, there's our website at the bottom. We're an industrial associate of the Chartered Institute of Plumbing and Heating Engineering. I think if you literally go on to that our webpage, there's a lot of information there. There's some subscription details that you can sign up, some various different options to do. Just take your time, have a look at it. I would suggest, more importantly, go on to our YouTube channel, which is Heat Engineer Software Limited, and just watch some of the tutorial videos. We've really tried to make it as easy as we possibly can for people to be able to do it. In fact, as far as I'm concerned, anybody can really do it. We get an awful lot of self-builders that come on to buy just one-off surveys for their projects that they're doing. And the feedback we get from them is really good. It's intuitive, but there's always room for improvement, like anything. So we're always after people to help us make it improve, and we can't do that without engineers or users. It's as simple as that.
Perfect. So now, with a bit of TV trickery, we should be able to go to a live Q&A to answer any questions that have come in.
For sure. Okay.